music.
What you did to me this morning, I want to be where you. I don't know. Can nobody do what you do to my body? Last night I cried, tossed and turned. First it was beautiful. Every girl has a fairy tale. No, I don't know if this is alright, but I miss you so much. You got me feeling so weak and wobbly. You just go with the flow. You just go. Yesterday I told myself I gotta go, I gotta leave. So please don't make it hard for me. I want to be where you. But then you wake up and see. But eventually reality hit me. I liked how it felt when I was by myself. Had to let it go.
How do you go from topping the R&B charts to being ghosted by your baby daddy, raising a medically fragile child alone, and disappearing from the industry altogether? Vivian Green's life wasn't just an emotional roller coaster. It was a full-blown wreck at times. While fans were vibing to her soulful heartbreak anthems behind the scenes, she was battling toxic love, a crumbling label deal, and a devastating diagnosis that nearly broke her. She had the voice, the talent, the moment. But what really happened? Was she pushed out of the spotlight, or did the music industry chew her up and spit her out the second she stopped playing the pretty polished soul singer role? From baby daddy drama to near breakdowns, mystery relationships, and a career that quietly unraveled, Vivian Green's story is way deeper and darker than anyone expected. And today, we're unpacking every messy, heartbreaking, and jaw-dropping moment of it. See, back in the early 2000s, Vivian Green was everyone's go-to for that "I just got dumped and I'm eating ice cream in the dark" kind of vibe. Her breakout hit Emotional Rollercoaster was basically therapy for your soul, with a beat. People assumed she was just another soft-spoken, artsy, neo-soul singer with sad love songs and incense-burning energy. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Vivian's music wasn't just poetic heartbreak. It was a diary of survival. Every lyric based on real pain, and not just the "he didn't text back" kind of pain. We're talking betrayal, emotional chaos, and toxic love that nearly destroyed her. She was marketed like the quiet girl next door, deep, smooth, and classy. But that image, it was a lie wrapped in studio lighting. Vivian wasn't living some peaceful boho life. She was in a high-speed crash course with real-life heartbreak, career sabotage, and personal loss that the industry never prepared her for. So while the world was labeling her the next Jill Scott or India Arie, Vivian was drowning in a storm nobody saw coming. And trust, that image, it started to crack real fast. All right, let's get into the mess. At the height of her buzz, right after Emotional Rollercoaster hit, Vivian found out she was pregnant. The father? None other than Eric Tribbett, a Philly drummer who, get this, literally appeared in her music video. Yep, dude was in the background pretending to play along, and in real life, he was hitting all the wrong notes. They got engaged, and just as fast, it all fell apart before the baby was even born. Then came the bombshell. Doctors told Vivian her unborn son had a rare bone disorder, a syndrome so mysterious they said he likely wouldn't survive. They offered her a legal way out, but Vivian, she said she couldn't go through with it. Because by that point, he had already started moving inside her. That line alone? Chills. Her son, Jordan, was born in 2004, weighing just 3 pounds. He had underdeveloped bones, a cyst on his brain, and a literal dent in his skull. The doctors gave him 7 days. 7 days. To live. Vivian said that was the darkest time of her life. She straight up admitted she didn't want to be here anymore. But somehow, she found the strength to fight for him. And he made it. Jordan beat every single medical prediction, but the struggle didn't stop there. At 2 years old, he stopped eating, had to be fed through a tube. Vivian was in full-time mom mode, learning medical care on the fly, while the man who helped create that child completely ghosted. She told Essence that she hadn't spoken to him in years, called the relationship destructive, and said, "He never hit me, but it was toxic, very unstable. Honestly, I think he needs help." And that's a quote, y'all. So while the world was wondering why Vivian Green disappeared, the truth was, she didn't vanish. She was fighting for her child's life while dealing with a man who vanished like he never existed. But trust, she wasn't done. Because somehow, in the middle of all this pain, she dropped another album. You'd think after surviving a high-risk pregnancy, raising a medically fragile baby, and getting ghosted by her ex, the industry would welcome Vivian Green back with open arms, right? Wrong. Vivian had been grinding since she was a teenager. She got signed by Columbia Records at just 16 years old, a literal child in a grown person's game. And right when she thought her debut album was on the way, boom, shelved. No explanation, no rollout, just vibes and broken promises. She went from next big thing to we'll call you real quick. And this wasn't some cute little pause. It was devastating. Vivian said she felt lost and confused. She was recording demos, performing at jazz clubs, and basically starting over. She even did backup vocals for Jill Scott just to stay afloat. And let's be real, Vivian Green as a background singer, that's like making Beyoncé do karaoke. Make it make sense. When Columbia finally gave her the green light in 2002, A Love Story dropped and gave us Emotional Rollercoaster, which went gold. Huge moment. She had the momentum. But then, just as her sophomore album was heating up, life hit her like a freight train. Pregnancy, doctors, crisis. No time for tours, interviews, or promo. And in the music business, if you miss one step, you're out. Doesn't matter why, doesn't matter how real your situation is. The machine moves on. And it did. By the time Vivian was ready to release her second album, the neo-soul wave that once embraced her, gone. The fans had moved on to the next it girl. And the label barely pushed her project. She was working through personal trauma while the business treated her like an expired product, just cold. So instead of riding high off her gold debut, she was stuck rebuilding everything again. But you know what? Vivian wasn't about to roll over. So picture this. You've been through hell. You finally drop a sophomore album while juggling single motherhood and a medically fragile child. And the industry basically says, "That's cute, but we're on to the next." That's exactly what happened to Vivian Green. Her second album, Vivian, dropped in 2005 and was actually fire, with tracks like Gotta Go, Gotta Leave, that had women everywhere blocking numbers and reclaiming peace. Critics showed love, fans appreciated the growth, but industry support? Crickets. See, Vivian wasn't giving scandal for clicks or beefing with other artists for headlines. She was just trying to survive and make soulful music with meaning. And in an industry obsessed with controversy and image, that wasn't enough. So what did she do? She switched labels. She left Columbia and signed with E1 Music, trying to reinvent her sound. In 2010, she dropped Beautiful, which moved away from sad love songs and leaned into more positive, empowering themes. But let's be real, the damage had already been done. Years of forced hiatuses, personal setbacks, and label drama had slowed her momentum. And even though the music was solid, it barely made a ripple on the charts. So she took another break. Again, for the most selfless reason imaginable. Her son needed surgeries. He needed homeschooling. He needed her. And Vivian wasn't about to let the music industry or anybody else get in the way of being a mother first. She told Vibe magazine she was fine with the break because every time she paused her career, it was for her son. Period. And let's be clear, that's not weakness. That's power. That's sacrifice. But while she was healing and growing the industry, they just kept looking the other way. And when she came back, things got interesting. Now let's talk about Vivian's love life, which, by the way, is just as layered and unpredictable as her music. After the disaster that was her relationship with Eric Tribbett, the baby daddy who dipped out faster than a one-hit wonder, Vivian wasn't exactly rushing to fall in love again. And can you blame her? But here's where it gets interesting. At one point, the streets started whispering that she was more than just business partners with rapper and producer Kwame. Yes, that Kwame. Old school hip-hop royalty turned indie label boss. Vivian signed with his label Make Noise Records. And suddenly, people started side-eyeing their chemistry. Were they dating? Was it just business? Was it both? Vivian never confirmed anything, but fans weren't buying the "we're just working together" line. And honestly, They did look good together, but if there was something going on, she kept it locked down tighter than an unreleased Beyoncé album. And even when she did go public with having a new man in her life after 4 years of being single, she made one thing crystal clear: she's not here for marriage. Like, at all. She told Essence magazine that she thinks the whole idea of marriage actually ruins relationships. Her exact words: "Marriage scares me a little bit." Not, "maybe one day," not, "if the right one comes along." She straight up said, nope, she's not signing up for that. And listen, coming from someone who's been through a toxic relationship, raised a child alone, and survived the emotional trenches, it makes sense. She doesn't need a ring to prove her worth. Instead, she poured her feelings into her music, like the track Under My Skin, which was basically a lyrical roast session for her ex. She aired him out without naming names, but we all know who that was for. Vivian Green doesn't do performative love. She's done playing games. And honestly, that's probably why so many people connect with her music, because it isn't cute, filtered romance. It's raw, it's messy, and it's real. But her evolution didn't stop at love, because next, she started shifting everything: her sound, her image, and her entire approach to music. Now, while the world kept sleeping on her, Vivian Green wasn't just sitting around waiting for a comeback invitation. She was building her own damn lane. By the time 2015 rolled around, she dropped the album Vivid under Kwame's indie label, and it lived up to the name. The sound was more confident, more colorful, more Vivian. She was no longer chasing trends or trying to recapture early 2000s magic. She was telling her truth, her way. But let's be real, the charts didn't care. The album didn't break records, no viral hits, no label push. And you know what? Vivian didn't care either, because for the first time, she had creative freedom. No suits micromanaging her sound. No one pushing heartbreak anthems just because they sell. Vivian was finally singing for herself, not for the industry. She followed up with VGVI in 2017 and Love Absolute in 2020, both deeply personal, both fully independent. Neither album charted. But here's the thing. Vivian didn't need chart numbers to validate her. She had already lived through real-life battles that made Billboard rankings feel like background noise. And by 2020, her priorities had shifted completely. On her Instagram bio, she literally called herself a full-time mom, part-time singer. She became an outspoken advocate for parents of special needs kids, and even helped her son film motivational content for his own social media. That's growth. That's power. That's the kind of comeback you don't see on TV. She went from chasing industry validation to creating a life where she sets the rules. The same woman who once nearly gave up on life now uses her platform to uplift others, without asking for anyone's approval. She's not the same Vivian Green who gave us tearful ballads at 21. This Vivian, she's a grown woman who's healed, evolved, and stopped shrinking herself to fit an industry mold. And yet, despite all of that, she still gets overlooked. So after everything, after being ghosted by the industry, by her ex, and by mainstream fame, where does Vivian Green stand now? Surprisingly, she's doing just fine. Vivian never had to get a 9-to-5, never had to pop up on reality TV for a check. She told R&B Junkie that she's always been able to live off her music. Why? Because while the spotlight dimmed, the royalties didn't. She wrote her own songs. She performed them. She got her publishing. She plays the long game. And even though she's no longer topping charts, Vivian Green's net worth is estimated around $1 million. Quiet money, grown woman money, the kind you don't flash, but you feel. And what will she be remembered for? It won't just be for Emotional Rollercoaster, though let's be honest, that song still hits. She'll be remembered for surviving the things that could have broken her, for putting her son before fame, for telling her story with honesty, even when it wasn't pretty. She's the girl who got signed at 16, shelved at 17, blew up at 23, nearly lost it all by 25, and somehow still came out with her integrity, her voice, and her sanity intact. While other artists exposed the dark side of the industry with lawsuits and Instagram rants, Vivian kept it classy, but never silent. She never shamed the business publicly, but she also never let it define her. She outlasted the hype machine, and that's rare. As of now, she's not chasing hits. She's still performing occasionally, still releasing music when she feels like it, and still advocating for parents going through what she went through. Vivian Green's story isn't flashy or scandalous just for shock value. It's real. It's survival with soul. So the next time someone asks, whatever happened to Vivian Green? You tell them she lived, she loved, she lost, she healed, and she's still here. Vivian Green didn't fade away. She reclaimed her peace, and maybe that's why her story isn't told more often, because it's not about scandal for headlines. It's about surviving behind the spotlight and finding power in walking away from it. She turned industry rejection into independence, heartbreak into healing, and personal tragedy into purpose. While everyone was asking where she went, she was busy raising a warrior, building a quiet empire, and writing her truth on her own terms. So the next time the internet tries to erase her, just remember, Vivian didn't disappear. She evolved. If you made it this far, drop a heart in the comments to show love to a true R&B survivor. And let me know, do you think Vivian Green deserved a bigger moment in the spotlight, or was she always meant to shine on her own terms? Vivian Green didn't fall off. She just rose above the noise. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss another deep dive into the artist the industry tried to forget, but we never will. See you in the next one.